Welcome, everyone, to another session in the series of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. In this series, we bring on real estate investing professionals and experts to help you build your personalized real estate investing strategy by hearing from their experience and their knowledge. Each of us are unique, so each of us should have a very unique strategy for our real estate investing. No two are alike. We've got different, skills. We've got different amount of money. We've got different values, etc. So this is where hearing what other people are doing, you can take bits and pieces together and then create your own. My name is Debbie Balfour, and I'm a real estate investor, and I'm a real estate investing success coach. I help real estate investors build their personalized real estate investing strategy and scale efficiently so that you can start enjoying financial and time freedom today. My special guest today is Jodi Steeves. Jodi is a mom, a wife, a real estate agent, and a real estate investor herself. So, and she's here to talk to us a bit about how to maximize your sale so that you can be realizing more than 100K with minimal to zero expense to yourself. So I'm really interested in hearing what Jodi has to say, because when you're selling that investment property, this is such a great, input into making sure that you're getting the best value that you can from that sale. So Jodi, before we start, can you tell us a bit more about you?
Absolutely. I've been selling real estate for 31 years, and I'm a mother of three. So I've got a 28, 24, and a 15-year-old. Yeah, and I'm married as well, and yeah, an investor. So happy to be working in the Lower Mainland and helping my clients succeed. We're always improving. That's kind of our main motto. Is just whenever we see someone either lose money or not benefit in the real estate industry, we figure out, what can we do to make sure that they benefit the next time? And sometimes it's just by making certain decisions and improving our systems as a real estate team as well. Yeah.
Awesome. So I wanted to share actually my experience with you as as a real estate investor, as your client. You were instrumental in helping me when I first started real estate investing. We looked at condo, and you were right away. You pointed out that we could turn this dining room into another room, and by doing so, I was able to actually increase my rent by 500K, by $500,
Right.
realizing, being able to realize cash flow when I wouldn't have been able to by just doing a renovation on that property. But not only did I do that, but this is where the K comes in, the thousand comes in, is that I was actually also able to increase my equity on that property by 30K just by putting up two walls.
Right.
So, so having that, investor focused real estate agent that can help you when you walk into a property to say, hey, we could do this, here are some ideas to, to change this a bit, to do a little bit of renovation and realize an increase in rent, an increase in equity is so instrumental. So
Hmm.
helpful. So thanks so much, Jodi, because we did it twice, right?
Oh, that's
But
great. I like to hear
so
those stories.
so let's chat a bit about how can we maximize that sale. So I know that you're going to give us 4 tips, and just to kick us off, first one is staging. So tell me a bit about staging. How can it be done, and how can we keep those expenses down when doing it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think staging kind of is overlooked. I think it's overused as well, the term in today's industry, where it doesn't have the impact that it really should. We started out by just having a few staging pieces, and now we have a full inventory of about $50,000, where we offer these to our clients for free. Again, it doesn't matter who you use as long as you take the time to do it. So, some good examples: we just had a condo listed in Aldergrove. It was listed for $499, and the buyer wrote us an over asking offer, which was really unusual because they weren't in a multiple. So I felt, and even my seller, I think what was so funny, she said you catfished the condo. And so that's actually the funniest term I've ever heard someone say. He said it didn't look anything like his. And what was interesting is we hardly brought anything in. So it was just rearranging his furniture. He already had beautiful pieces, adding rugs. We added a little table and two chairs and some photos and bedding and pillows, but he already had the rest. So it was just sometimes the furniture isn't aligned properly to showcase the space, not making it big enough, not taking your eye out the window. He backed onto Greenbelt, so he had a great location. It was nice and bright in there, but it really went to a show suite. And I think the emotional level of that buyer really went up high, where they wanted to avoid a multiple. They wanted to not even take the chance they might lose it. And they
Right.
were 15,000 over asking, which is a lot when you're priced at 499. Just because they thought it was pretty and they were emotionally engaged. So that was a really nice story. Didn't cost my seller anything. We just say you can use the furniture or the staging items until you get a sold sticker, and we take them professionally, clean them, mend them. Sometimes we have to throw them away and repurchase. So
Okay, so as a real estate agent, that's the service you offer to your clients.
absolutely. It's just included
Mm,
in our fees. We just feel like the real estate fees are enough, and we don't want our clients having the option to make the decision not to stage. So
right,
as my business grew over the years, I saw sometimes a lot of money left on the table because, either they didn't want the expensive staging, which made sense. I mean, sometimes it can be $3,500 a month, depending on the size of your home. But so, they didn't want those added expenses, so they opted not to stage. So then we just started building our inventory to say, make sure that the client didn't have the option to not see that financial benefit when they were going in.
right.
But again,
So
yeah,
yeah, so this sounds like it's critical in, you know, in really getting your place sold, um, and creating that emotion with it by making it look beautiful. So it could be your own pieces that just gets moved around a bit. Add some. What I'm hearing is like add some nice, soft furnishing into there, some bed linen, some cushions, rugs, etc., to really make the place and the placement of furniture is critical.
critical. And we try to use luxury fabrics and luxury colors. So, like bringing in the golds and the navies, the golds and the blacks, anything that adds richness as well and textures that will actually have a huge benefit. And things
Okay.
that they can actually just, you can go to thrift stores. They don't have to use my service. They can be boring off friends. They can take things from their home for the short term and, make it stage. However it needs to be done to make sure it's affordable and they get the return on their investment.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds
But
awesome.
another example, there was one in Surrey we had, which I love. It was listed with another realtor, 499 for 5.5 months. And it was a vacant condo. And to be fair, the lines of the living room were difficult. So if a buyer walked in there, they would go, I don't know where to put my furniture. They would have shut down because the lines of the floor were difficult. But we went in there and we staged it. And the thing I like about that is the market was the same. That was a November sale. We took that listing, ended with the other realtor at the end of October. And we ended up with multiple offers and sold for 535, which ends up being a 7.2% increase. So a lot of times they say the staging is a 4 to 6% return, but it's hard to actually have an example where you can prove it. Like I hear the examples, my buyers say, this is beautiful. I see them right over asking, but to actually have an example on paper,
Of the
I can hear
difference.
all the numbers. Yeah, and the same photos before and after, the same angles. There's nothing changed. And that was such a huge one because that was multiple offers, 535, and that was just 2 weeks later, and they had it for 5.5 months. Same market. So that one I really liked. That was a good one.
Yeah, a lot of buyers, they can't see it, they can't envision it. Right? When they walk into an empty place, they can't envision it. So yeah, putting that furniture in the right place, etc., then they can see, what it looks like, what it actually looks like.
I don't want the people that can vision it because that's an investor who's 4% of the market and they're number based. They're not emotional. They're just numbers. If the numbers work, they buy it. Well, that's not who I want to attract. So if I need somebody to envision something, that's not going to serve my sellers at the end of the day in terms of getting them the best price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the
That's
envisioning and it's the creating that emotion in it, definitely. Right.
and
So
where I saw that, like, there seems to be four areas where the staging is the most beneficial. Like sometimes you have higher end homes, they already have beautiful furniture. They're not going to see those returns on staging, but vacant homes for sure. Sometimes if you have a tenant situation, you can do virtual staging to make sure that they get the benefit. Small rooms, and if it's dated. those seem to be the ones that benefit the most from staging. I remember there was an open house in Aldergrove, and I had all these people coming through. It was an investor. We had worked with them from the beginning, kind of like we did, where we went through and we added value. We created a suite. We moved the laundry. So we worked with them right from the beginning. But when we staged it, we just did the living room, dining room. I didn't have a lot of inventory at that time. But I remember people saying the master bedroom's too small, or now primary bedroom's too small. And I kept hearing that, and I thought, shoot, because they were loving everything else. So I remember in the middle of the open house, I called my husband. I said, "Can you get a bed here, an end table, and a lamp?" And he did. In the middle of the open house, he brought it, and the next person that came through wrote the offer. It was
Wow.
that, um, and we see that a lot. Um,
Because, yeah, empty rooms, you would think that empty rooms would look bigger, but it actually looks smaller. I know that, my house it's pulled back since it burnt down. It's pulled back to the studs right now. And then when I walk through it, I go, was my bedroom really this small? Was my
right,
bathroom really this small? Right?
yeah,
It looks, you would think that pulling it back to the studs, everything would actually look bigger,
right.
but it looks smaller.
It does.
Yeah, it's it's amazing. So too much furniture can make it look smaller, but
That's right.
no furniture can also make it look smaller.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I remember we had this one condo. It was an age restriction. We had it on the market for about 3 months, and we kept price reducing, price reducing. I said, let's just stop. I said, I have it. And they kept talking about the mint paint on the walls. That seemed to be the buyers. They were, I guess, stalled in moving forward. They weren't emotionally engaged. And I said, why don't we, at that time, why don't we hire a stager? And I think it cost them $3,500. I said, but let's lift the list price. So we went from 159 to 169.9. And the first person that came through, we were trying to sell. We had lots of showings, tried to sell for 3 months apart. And the person came in, and I knew we had sold it the day we staged it, because they went right in and they sat on the couch. And usually when buyers sit on the furniture and they're kind of just taking it in, you're like, okay, I think they're going to do something. And they wrote us like 168. So we covered the cost of the staging 2.5 times, and we sold it immediately. So
Yeah.
time to market as an investor, if you're sitting there vacant, we're carrying maintenance fees, taxes, mortgage, things like that, right? It starts to add up. So, spending the money or using a realtor that has the services could be, will save them a ton of cash flow.
Yeah, that's so important what you just said there. A lot of times people we get into this, oh, I want to save money. So you're busy not wanting to spend it instead of looking at it not as saving money, but as making money. It's like how much money can I make instead of how much money can I save?
That's right.
Right?
That's
Because like you got that money plus by
yes.
just by spending the money on the staging. So don't be
That,
tight on your staging.
yeah. Or do it yourself. Go around to flea markets, use your own products, or use a realtor that has those services that they
Yeah.
offer. Yeah. So
I
you got
mean,
lots of
I
options.
I did a lot of my Airbnbs by going to Value Village
Yeah.
and Facebook Marketplace and getting
Yeah.
a lot
Oh,
of
that's an
good stuff
excellent
back.
resource. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've got a time to do that, if not, to me, time is money too. So if you
Yes.
don't have the time to be able to having to go all these places, it costs gas, it's your time, etc.
Yeah.
Hire a stager.
Yeah. Exactly.
So awesome. So the next one you said are estimates. What do you mean by estimates?
Yeah, so we do this a lot. So a lot of times I'll go through a home and we'll see a flaw. And I always say, if you can make it easy for buyers to buy. If you can't make it easy, I find the buyers shut down emotionally quickly. So if they walk through a home and they say, well, the laundry's in the back of the basement suite, and the upstairs people have to go through the suite to use it because maybe it's being shared by a family. They maybe have their daughter in the basement and they're living upstairs. But when I go to resell this, they were going to have two tenants now, right? Most likely, or the owner's going to live upstairs and they're going to rent the basement. That laundry now is a problem. And the buyer will automatically shut down. In my experience, this is what I've
Hmm.
seen. They just shut down and they go buy another home that's easy. And without my seller having to put that second laundry in and incur that expense, we just bring in our contractor and we just say, can we find a location in the home where we can put a second laundry? Can you give us an estimate? And he does this free for us. So that's George he's our contractor. He'll come all the way out to Chilliwack, to Aldergrove. He'll do free estimates for us. And then we do the written estimate. We put it on the wall. So we say a full stacking washing machine can go here. It's confirmed by, our contractor, we give the name and we say this estimate is good for 6 months, and the estimate's $8,000 including washer dryer. Um, and where I see the value there is that a lot of times I find the buyer has to pad those types of renovations, or they say this cannot be done, and then they just walk away. Um,
Right.
but but padding is a big one. That's where they take it right off the top of your offer. They're going to say, well, I don't know, maybe it's 15,000 instead of 8. So now you lose 7,000 off your sale price that we could have got.
Right.
Uh, yeah. So those ones are big. We had a carpet one I did on one of my rentals, and people that came into the open house, I stopped them at the door. I said, "Do you mind if I just ask what you think this costs? Carpets up the stairs and in the 2 bedroom." And
Mm-hmm.
everybody was 5,000 plus, and I showed them the receipt that was about 1435. Right, so that was a 3 times your investment, and that's usually what we see. But to actually prove it, it was difficult. But you usually get 3 time investment for your paint, your staging, your flooring, those types of renovations, and taking care of a flaw in the home.
Right. So it's like addressing the elephant in the room. Don't try to cover it up. Don't try to pretend it isn't there, but
That's
bring it out, address it, and you're already giving them like they don't even have to do the work to find someone to do the carpeting or to do to do the renovation.
that's right.
They already have someone there.
Yeah, George did a really good one in Aldergrove for us. He came out, and I usually get him to give us estimates to create a suite because of the high interest rates and the expense of real estate. Everybody needs a suite, is what I'm finding, or they just like the option to have one. But he came in and he gave us an estimate. He says, "Jodi, I think you can get 2 suites here." And I said, "What?" He said, "2 suites." And everybody was saying, "Oh, that's going to be about 90 to $100,000." But we had a written estimate from George at 60 to put in 2 suites. The buyer did exactly that, put the 2 suites in, and they flipped the house after us. So we sold it immediately, and that was on it with another realtor for about 4 months as well.
Right.
So as soon as we created the 2 suites, we also staged the home as well. So we did 2 things, but adding that value that cost my seller nothing, added value to the buyer, made it
To the
easy.
buyer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Allowed them to see the
This
potential.
This is awesome. So this is now around having your team in
Hmm.
place. So, yourself being an investor focused, realtor that can see these things, having a good contractor that can help you also, identify what can be done with the place, having those estimates. So having those there and then offering your buyer your team to be
That's
able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And even just giving them the estimate so they know, okay, this is going to be the ballpark. They might want to use their own contractor, but it just gives them a general idea. At least this is guaranteed. If they get
Yes.
a better deal, that's great, but this will be their worst case scenario,
And
right?
making it easy for them because
Yeah,
you're saying, here's an estimate, here's a person that you can use. You can use your own, but here's your kind of a turnkey approach to it, right? Um,
absolutely.
when I was in the IT world, it was about clicks. So if they have to click too many times to get to where they need to be,
Right.
it was a turn off,
Yes,
right?
right,
So,
right, right. Kind of the same
so the,
thing. Yeah,
the one click approach.
that's right. Yeah.
Definitely. So that's great. So we've got staging, we've got estimates. Now you said tenants. What do you mean by tenants? What's your tip number
This is a
three?
tough topic, but sometimes we have difficult tenants. And I think sometimes you can have a discussion with your tenants. If they are difficult, if you realize, okay, I'm not going to, we're not going to have a team here. We're not going to be working as a team to get the highest sale price. Then it might be worth offering them some cash to relocate. It's if they're a month-to-month tenant, you can have a discussion with them as long as we follow the tenancy, guidelines and the rules set out by the Tenancy Act. We can have a negotiation and just say, sometimes a lot of the time the buyers want to move into the home, so the chance they may have to move anyway. So if I can
Yes.
make it financially beneficial at the outset for them to move, then now I can offer a home with easy viewing, quick dates. Sometimes buyers get into trouble. Maybe they have to be out of their rental and they need to buy quickly, or they
Right.
maybe ran out of time. Maybe they were competing in multiples and they've lost a few times. So now they have to buy. So those people sometimes will pay a premium for our homes if they're vacant.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about the home being damaged when people move out. I don't have to worry about low rents. Like the market is, the rents, as we've seen in the last couple of years, have really accelerated. You're getting 1,600 for a 1 bedroom that used to be 1,000. If I
Yeah.
got a tenant at 1,000, that's not going to serve. my seller well as we move forward with selling. So, right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's again addressing that right at the beginning. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to, yes, if you sell it and it's a homeowner, a tenant will have to move, but the tenant will still make it difficult for that buyer also.
I
So
can stage it.
yeah.
Sometimes they don't leave the home. So it's only if it's difficult. Sometimes you have really good tenants and maybe it is an investor property. So, and their rents are at market rent. So now maybe we want to work with this tenant. Maybe we say, okay, every month, if you have it in show condition, you leave the home when we want to show it, I'll give you 500 cash at the end of each month. So they pay the normal rent, but at the end of the month, you give them the 500 cash each month. So now they're motivated every month to stay on target until we get the home sold. We can even
Mhm.
negotiate, we'll give you 3 months closing instead of 2 months. Like we can make this a win-win for both parties. And then again, virtually staging the home. So as long as we identify in the comments that we've actually virtually staged it, it's fine to do that, and just show the potential of the property to the buyers that are coming through.
Right, that sounds great. Yeah. So I know for me as a real estate investor, I do not take on other people's tenants. So I always look for a vacant property because
Yes.
I know my personality and I don't like conflict. So
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
Yeah. And I know it's risky sometimes if people don't have the cash flow. Maybe they're a first time investor, they're just getting started. So they do worry about losing that income every month. So just
Mhm.
reassuring them, that, if we do these types of things, we're going to maximize our sale. We'll have a faster sale, faster closing,
Yeah.
and all of those.
So again, being prepared to spend a little bit in order to get more,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
Instead of thinking about how much you're losing.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know. And then the last tip you said to me, Jodi, was pre-inspections.
This
What do
one
you
is
mean by that?
This is so much money left on the table, that I don't give my sellers an option anymore. I pay for all pre-inspections on all detached homes. There was a multiple offer in Alder Grove, I remember, and two offers came in, and one was 20,000 higher, subject to inspection, and one was 20,000 less, no inspection. Most sellers will take the no inspection, go that route. And we did talk about pre-inspections before we went to the market. This was before I made it mandatory where I paid for them and offered it up front. And I said, never again. After that, I didn't want my seller to have the option because they took the 20,000 less, no subject to finance, no subject to inspection. And I know for a fact, if we had done the inspection, they would have taken the higher one because we just did that. There was a home in Alder Grove. I listed it and we had a pre-inspection and there was a major problem, in the crawl space. And, seller thought it was about a $30,000 fix. My contractor, I showed him photos. He thought it was 12 to 15. We called in our expert. It was $1,450 taxes in with the receipt in hand. So what ended up happening, we had two offers come to table on that exact property. And there was one that was higher, 15,000 higher, subject to inspection. We had the confidence to take that offer. We took the higher offer, subject to inspection. But I did do two things. We sent the pre-inspection to that buyer and the buyer's realtor, and we sent the receipt. And I said, if you tell me you're satisfied with my pre-inspection and the receipt that we got for the repairs, I said, we're happy to take your offer and move forward. We did. No issue, not even a question, not one thing brought up after their inspection. Removed subjects, and we went on our day. And my sellers were calm because
Right.
Debbie, they do the inspections the very last day or the day before
Yes.
they subjects because they wait for their financing before they spend that money on the inspection, right? Well, now my sellers have no time to get estimates. They have no time to do these repairs, and usually it comes down to a big cash discount if it's a major item, or the buyer walks. It's one or the other,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
They walk. If it's drain tile or you have standing water in your crawl space, they're gone. Or major cracks in your crawl space. Those three are hard to save.
Then you're finding out last minute about, the problems that are there. So, and yeah, and you've
We had
so
another
as a seller, you're more confident, way more confident
and
going into that
calm,
sale.
calm. Like
Yeah.
usually when the inspection happens, I can see the stress on my seller's face. They are stressed. And this thing, they're just calm. They're like, oh, we don't care where this because we've
We
already
know
done.
what the problems are, or we know that there's no problems, and
And we
yeah.
disclose them up front. So we disclose any problems in the realtor remarks. So all the buyers know coming in, and anything that's major that we think is going to be an issue, we get the repair done and we have a receipt. There
Right.
was standing water in one of my homes, and that takes time. That's a 2-week fix because I've got to call in all the experts like Roto-Rooter. I got to get the plumber. I got to get township there, different things. Well, that happened. My client had to take up he had plastic vapor barrier lining the crawl space, which was trapping the natural water that would normally evaporate. So as soon as
Hmm.
he removed that, we brought in the fans, it aired it out. We checked with Roto-Rooter, $79, no issue. A licensed plumber came out, no problem with the pipes. $79, we had that problem handled. That would have killed any deal. Buyer would have walked in a heartbeat. And they
Right.
were selling quickly, no stress, nice calm pace, no stress. Yeah,
So you have the option to do two things by doing that pre-inspection, addressing it yourself
yeah.
or having it as part of disclosed, and this is how much it would cost. Similar to what we talked about, that those estimates of doing some renovations and getting more value out of or making it the place flow better when you would have those objections.
Well, one of the big problems, if they do walk, now I have to disclose to all the other realtors I'm going to phone the next day and tell them that the home is now available. They're going to say, well, what happened? I'm going to say, well, it failed inspection. This is the
Right.
problem. Here's the receipt. Well, now I got to try and build back the buyer's confidence,
Confident.
which it's not going to happen. It's not going to,
Yeah.
right? So now my sellers are going to get a lower price.
Yeah, so this is awesome. So we talked about staging, making sure that so that you can create that emotional attachment. People can see it because a lot of homeowners, first time buyers too, they can't picture what that space would look like.
That's right.
So we talked about staging and we talked about giving estimates for things that, like you talked about a laundry room that may be shared or opportunities that might be in the home. So you said that we could actually create not just a suite but two suites out of here, um, making it easy by providing already estimates there, a person that could do it for them if they wanted to go with your team. And we talked about tenants, like managing with the tenants ahead of time, offering the tenants a bit of an incentive to move, a bit of an incentive to allow people to come in and view it because it is disruptive on their
Mhm.
lives.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
And
then
set,
we
and
yeah.
set showing times. I didn't touch on that, but making sure if you have to work with a tenant, just have set times so that they're not feeling disrespected, so that they feel, okay, I only have to have the house clean 2 hours a week on Tuesday nights from 6 to 7 and Saturday from 1 to 2. And that now I can go in earlier, I can do a walkthrough, make sure everything's perfect, have the people come through. I have to be present anyway, so I might as well be there and do a walkthrough and make sure it's in show condition, and then have everybody come at one time.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah. Yeah, always put yourself in the other person's position. What would you like,
Yeah.
had to happen, or how would you like to be treated? So that's great. And then we just spoke about pre-inspections and making sure that you're not caught off guard by a problem that's there, but
Right.
and that you're able to disclose it or you're able to address it. So no stress to that last minute. Are they going to take that conditional offer off or not because of something that might be found?
And if it's a large one, I do find a lot of times the deal collapses because the fee is so high that the buyer asks for. A lot of times they'll have to pad that because they don't have a written estimate because it's the last day of subject removal. So they don't have time to get those estimates. So yeah, that's where we're avoiding that over inflating the repairs.
And then you end up having maybe a different offer coming
Yeah, no,
because of the sorry, I've now got a tickle.
no worries.
So these are so awesome. It's really, really great tips, Jodi, tips that I've never thought of. So I'm thinking right now that when I'm ready to sell my next investment property, this is definitely going to be on the list.
Yeah,
Because
keep
I
in
always
mind.
thought about the staging, but and of course for me, because I like things to be vacant tenancy, I want to be doing that too. But the estimates and the pre-inspections are like things that I never thought of.
They add a lot of value. We get a discount with our pre-inspections as well too. So that a lot of times they'll give you a discount on pre-inspections over traditional buyer inspections. So you can negotiate that up front too, especially if you're doing multiple ones.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome to know. So, Jodi, these are wonderful tips. Thank you so much for sharing. I wanted to ask actually a bit about going back to a bit about you. So, you are a real estate investor yourself. How long have you been in real estate investing?
So I've been investing off and on since '05. I remember when I went to Aussie Jerk back in the day, and I love Aussie Jerk. I follow him as well. And ever since then, yeah, I've been loving real estate. We've done flips in the past. We've done long-term rentals. We've done improvements on our own homes and then resold them. So kind of a little bit of everything. We have not done Airbnbs though. That's the only thing we haven't done, Airbnbs yet. Um, and the rule changes has to be your principal residence in BC now. So yeah, but that's okay because I've got a coach home, so that can be done down the road. Yeah, so no, I like the flipping. I do worry. I always worry when I have a one of my sellers that are buying properties and wanting to flip them and resell them. So I always worry for them that the market will change or the numbers are off. So my numbers are usually really super low. So if they like this profit, we're good. And we usually, for me, I would want to work with a realtor that doesn't get paid commission if you don't make that profit. So that's how I did it with my um, flippers. We were invested together. So if they didn't hit that number, there was no commission paid. So
Really, on a flip. So if
yeah,
they
on
were
the numbers that
purchasing
I
it,
did. Yeah, the numbers that I did. So not their numbers. So I do my own numbers based on
right.
comparables and the renovations we need to do and get the estimates and just say, okay, as long as if the market changes, the market changes. Now you don't want your seller hurt because of that. So then it's a team effort because it's usually an ongoing relationship that we're doing. We're doing multiple offers. And if they
Yeah.
lose, that's the last thing. Your relationship won't continue. If they based all their decisions on the numbers that I gave them. A lot of times I have to say no. Like remember one young investor in the past, he's hugely successful now. And we were in court. I remember he wanted to get up and increase his offer. I said, no, we're not increasing our offer because the numbers don't work. And you're going to hate me at the end of the day if those numbers don't work. I know we're excited and we want to get going on our first flip.
Yes.
Yes, that we let this one go. We'll find another one. And we did. We found that there's always another good deal around the corner. If we have to let this one go because the numbers don't work, there's another one tomorrow, another one the next week. Every month we can find a really good deal.
That's so important, especially for, aspiring novice investors to, that's a key one that I like to stress too, is that don't get emotionally attached. Don't make the numbers work.
Yes, yeah.
Right, because you can't. It's not. That's not realistic, and you'll hurt yourself in the process. So, like you said, there's tons of other opportunities, and if these numbers don't work, it wasn't meant to be. It's not the right thing because it's an investment. It's not your family home.
Yes, exactly. I know a lot of times people want to do houses because the numbers are better, but in my experience, I've always liked my flippers to do a townhome first. The townhome, there's no outside work needed outside of staging or a little bit of power washing. The numbers are usually safer. I can get the estimates all done ahead of time. There's usually less factors that can go wrong. I remember there was one of my clients, a good friend of ours, actually, yours and mine, and I remember they didn't want this townhome. They didn't like this townhome I was bringing. I said, it's a really good deal. I said, there's bad photos. It looks like a trailer park, and it's not. It's a beautiful townhome gated. It was just the wrong photo that was being used on MLS by that particular marketer. And I just said, I said, I really think this one has huge potential. We even got caught in COVID. So as the market, COVID hit, and it was uncertain, not when the market was increasing during COVID, but when there was
Right.
uncertainty. And we still made, I think it was 80,000 profit on that one, on a townhome, right? So yeah. So that was a little more risky because it was age restricted. So typically it's harder, right? It's a
Yeah.
time you weren't able to rent them out, and now you just have to check the rules if they are allowing rentals. 55 plus is usually a no rental. So then the risk is a little higher for you.
Well, but now it's you can yes they can still rent it, but it has to be 55 plus to rent
That's
it.
right. Yeah, 55 plus. So it just makes your rental pool a little smaller. Yeah. So that's just
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yes, I think starting that was for me with a burr. I started with condos because I wanted something small,
Mhm.
manageable before and then once I did the condos, then I went to houses. But
Right.
but yeah, that's it, and the thing with townhouses, I've spoke to a real estate investor in the past, and that's all he does is townhomes because it's more marketable.
Right. Yeah.
It's that it's a wider range of people that will either rent it or be able to sell.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Especially if it's a three-bedroom. That seems to be the number one thing that buyers are looking for. Just if they want to grow a family, if they want to bring in roommates, just it gives so much flexibility. Have family live with them, different things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jody. I will include in this video how to get in touch with you. But as part of this, did you want to tell us a bit about how to get in touch with you also?
absolutely. You can email me at Jodi at jodyandtheteam.com. And that's with an I, Jody with an I. Jody at jodyandtheteam.com. Or you can call 604-833 Jody.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And as Jody said, she for herself, so your I know district that you look after. What are those areas?
absolutely. It seems to be North Delta all the way to Chilliwack. So we have a central hub in Aldergrove, and that's because my past clients have spread out over the years and my investors. We do go to Maple Ridge and White Rock as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jody. Have a wonderful day.
Right?